Welcome everybody. So let's just wrap up and wait a minute and we'll start our webinar. So hello to you. Just let us know that you hear us well and you see myself and of course Simon Kotler, who is our special guest and will take the presentation. What's new in Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager? All is good. Thank you. So let's try to be as in a good time as possible. So welcome everybody. Welcome Simon. Thank you again that you are spending time with us to sharing the knowledge. What's new? What's the status and what's new in the latest Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager? The topic is really important because we've seen the significant growth in this area. And during this presentation, during this webinar, we will deep dive and see from the Simon what you should concentrate it on when you will upgrade to the latest version. Simon, how are you?
Yeah, hi Pavel. Yeah, I'm very good, very good. You know, it's summer now here, at least here in Italy. So yeah, I'm very good.
I said that you have a match on Friday, Belgium, Italy. Won't be easy, but keep fingers crossed.
Yeah, sure. And you know, I'm also a soccer fan. So yeah, we will see what will happen on Friday. The good point is that it's a great tournament. It's something that also is giving us a bit of normality, right? We are going to seems that we are going to come back in a normal situation after COVID-19. So it's quite good. Yeah, and even the sport is helping on this. Yeah. And by the way, I would like also to thank you for the opportunity to talk with you guys at Storeware, as well as the people, everyone that is interested on Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager and KVM.
Great. So please share the presentation with us, and we'll start straight away.
Yep. Okay. Can you see it, right?
Yeah.
So as Pavel was saying, Storeware, obviously, I also would like to mention Storeware because Storeware is one of the vendors that work with us, and maybe it's also the one of the best option for the backup while running Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager and VMs on top of it, and as well as Oracle solutions like the Oracle Database. And I would like to thank Storeware for the opportunity to talk with you today on what is the actual status of Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, as well as what's new, so what we are just completed, what we are just announced, as well as what it's really coming quite soon, right? Now, let's start. Very quick reminder of what Oracle Linux KVM virtualization solution is built on. At the end, we have obviously the Oracle Linux KVM, so the compute side of the solution that today is based on Oracle Linux 7 with the unbreakable enterprise kernel. And over there, we also have advanced KVM and libvirt releases, right? And when we say advanced, it's really because those KVM and libvirt releases, or the user space stuff that we have on our virtualization solution for KVM, are releases that we track, we build, and we work on at Oracle. So different teams at Oracle are today leveraging those releases. And the important thing to know is that what we have there for Oracle Linux KVM in terms of kernel, libvirt, and KVM are the same releases that today we are leveraging on Oracle engineering systems like Oracle Exadata, as well as the Oracle Cloud. So all the teams at Oracle that leverage the KVM solution are relying on the same release. So we all work together and we all address any requirement, any enhancement into the same KVM release, right? Into the KVM compute solution. That said, for the management, and mostly for the management on premises for Oracle Linux KVM, we announced more than a couple of years ago Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, as you maybe already know, it's a management solution, an enterprise KVM management solution built from over the open source project, where all of us, as well as Storeware, work together with the community. That said, what we do is to rely on this community project. But that said, we also have our development, test, and support coming from Oracle, and it's where we build Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager.
And Simon, the question here, when you're saying about the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, what's the most common use cases and usage today that you've seen on the customer side? Is for the Oracle databases or for the other workloads, or specifically for the VM workloads? What's the common use case that you see?
So the common use case, so it's quite common for us to get in touch with companies or enterprise companies that are looking for a virtualization solution where to run Oracle products, right? So where to run, for example, the Oracle database, or even applications that rely on the Oracle database, like, for example, e-business suite or others. That said, due to the great job or due to the great stuff that we have with the work community, those customers evaluate that OLVM is also an enterprise-ready solution or an enterprise virtualization solution that can also guest other type of services. So while initially maybe customers leverage Oracle Linux KVM and Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager for their Oracle workload, immediately after they also evaluate possible moving from other proprietary virtualization solution to Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager and KVM. So, for example, they also evaluate the moving from VMware to Oracle Linux KVM. So usually this is at the beginning, most of the customers are Oracle customers, so Oracle products customer, and immediately after, those customers also evaluate to introduce other workloads on the same architecture. Also because, for example, if they also want to run Microsoft Windows, we also have virtual drivers certified by Microsoft to run Windows on top of Oracle Linux KVM and OLVM.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you too. So yeah, very quick overview. At the end, as already said, OLVM or Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, it's based and built on Overt. It's integrated, tested, and supported by Oracle. And the important thing to know is that it's also public available for free. So everyone can get access to Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. Everyone can get also access to all the updates that we do for Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. And that said, we also have a dedicated Oracle documentation library where you can find the architecture and planning guide, the get started guide, release notes, as well as the administration guide for OLVM. Now, what we support on top of this architecture, on top of Oracle Linux KVM, we today support at the end all the main Oracle Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and CentOS releases. In the last year, we also collaborated with other Linux vendors, and we introduced the support for SUSE Linux Enterprise 12 and 15, as well as Ubuntu on the long-term stable releases, so 16.04, 18.04, and 20.04. We also support Microsoft Windows, both the desktop as well as the server releases. And lately, maybe it's just last month, this month, because we are still in June, sorry. We just announced also the support for Solaris 11.4. So there's a release update for Solaris 11.4 that introduces the support also for Oracle Linux KVM. So we now also have the opportunity to run Oracle Solaris x86 virtualized on top of Oracle Linux KVM hypervisor. And by the way, I'm going to deep dive into this new support later during the presentation. The value that we have, or we think to have, into the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager and Oracle Linux KVM. So yeah, first of all, the Oracle software certification. As you can imagine, all the certifications as well as the development of any Oracle product today rely on Oracle Linux KVM, right? So internally at Oracle, we have thousands and thousands of different systems dedicated to development, dedicated to certification that are running on top of Oracle Linux KVM. The R partitioning is another point. It's a licensing model or a licensing option for Oracle products while running on top of Oracle Linux KVM. Ksplice. Ksplice is a solution we have at Oracle that we also leverage as a cloud vendor. It's a zero downtime security patching for hypervisor and kernel, and as well as user space packages. So at the end, it's something that gives you the opportunity to install on your system security fixes without rebooting or without restarting your services. And as you can imagine, while talking about virtualization, this kind of thing can be really important, because rebooting one single server could mean maybe to migrate or move away tens or hundreds of VMs. And you can skip all of those steps thanks to Ksplice. Another point is related to the rapid application deployment option that we have. Also, thanks to the great job the Over community did related to templates we have there. We have Oracle Linux templates, Oracle Linux 7 Update 9, as well as Oracle Linux 8 Update 4 templates, public available for free, and those can be leveraged. And relying on those, you can really automate the deployment of new services on top of Oracle Linux KVM. Another option is related to the management. We also have the Oracle Enterprise Manager integration. So Oracle Enterprise Manager is an administration and management single point of management for any Oracle product. And between those, we also have Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. So for any customer today relying or already using Oracle Enterprise Manager, they can also add management of their KVM infrastructure into the same. But that said, the other very interesting point is that with Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, we didn't fork. So all the APIs that we expose with Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager are 100% compatible with the overt. So with the community solution, we didn't fork. We are 100% compatible. And so what does it mean? It means that first of all, for any partner that in the past worked to have their solution working with overt, the same solution can work with Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager without any kind of problem, right? Yeah, so the important thing to know is that we are 100% compatible there. There's no real difference in terms of API exposed, and so there's no, if you want, there's no lock-in into the solution, right? If at one point someone would like to switch back, for example, to the community release, they can easily do it without any kind of problem.
And I've seen in the latest release you also promote the templates. So I'm guessing you will tell more about it, how easy to deploy it using the templates. I love this functionality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to deep dive into the templates because we also have one important news related to the template. And I'm going to share with you now, because I have now a section dedicated what's new, right, for Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager and Oracle Linux KVM. So yeah, the first important point is that in the last year, we also introduced the official support for Virt V2V. So we had our engineering team as well as quality engineering team working on to support Virt V2V solution. Virt V2V is another open source project, right? And it's a solution that allows to automate in some way the migration from other hypervisors to Oracle Linux KVM and Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, and obviously also to overt, right? Again, we expose the same API there. So we worked and we built a couple of solutions for our customers, and this is also due to what I said to you before, right? We had customers that approached the solution to run their Oracle workload, but immediately after, the same customers who had been also interested to see on how to migrate from other hypervisors to Oracle Linux KVM and Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. So with Virt B2B, you can really automate the migration, for example, from VMware or even from Oracle VM to Oracle Linux KVM and Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. With this kind of solution, you can automate all the steps required for the migration, but that said, obviously the manual process to export and import or even other partner solutions are also available. And at Oracle, if someone could be interested, we also have professional services that can help on the migration. I personally think that for anyone that knows or owns the technology, the migration can be easily done. That said, if maybe there's a huge project of 100 or thousands of VMs that have to be migrated, maybe involving Oracle Professional Services can really do the difference, because they have a huge experience on this topic and they already worked with many different customers on the migration process.
Simon, we have a questions here regarding the migration stuff from Steve. Is conversion of Oracle Enterprise Linux 5 32 bits from OVM to KVM is supported?
So the conversion worked. The conversion, there's no problem in the conversion. The important thing related to Oracle Linux 5 to know is that Oracle Linux 5 is today under sustaining support at Oracle. What does it mean, sustaining support? So the first important point to know is that with Oracle Linux releases, we have an indefinite sustaining support for all the Oracle Linux releases, right? So even if, for example, for Oracle Linux 5, the extended support is already completed, we still support Oracle Linux 5, but with the term support, we mean that we can help you on configuration, we can help you on anything that may be required to apply a change on the configuration file or to fix an issue that is there on the configuration file. But obviously, due to the fact that it's already under sustaining support at Oracle, we are not going to deploy or develop any new fix or any new code for Oracle Linux 5. Related to the migration, Virt B2B is also able to manage the migration of Oracle Linux 5. But the important thing to know is that related to Oracle Linux 5 is this one, right? It's today under sustaining support. That means our support team will help you. If a bug is there, or if you're looking, for example, for a security fix on Oracle Linux 5, no one is going to develop a new fix or a new patch for Oracle Linux 5 today. But related to the migration, Virt B2B is also able to handle Oracle Linux 5.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on.
Yep, thank you too. Now, as you maybe I can do a brief history around OLVM. We first introduced OLVM 4.6. We then announced OLVM 4.3.10. The important thing to know is that when you see OLVM 4.3.10, the OLVM 4.3.10 that we announced more than 1 year ago is not the same OLVM 4.3.10 that is today available, right? Over there, we introduced many bug fixes, many security fixes, as well as some enhancement. We also did different backports from the community because, as you know, the overall community is today running 4.4 release that rely on Enterprise Linux 8, while we are still on Enterprise Linux 7 with 4.3 release of OLVM. But the important thing to know is that on OLVM 4.3.10, we are doing different backports coming from over to 4.4. So we had different errata releases for OLVM, and into each errata release, we introduced bug fixes, security fixes, as well as the support for new features of the product, right? And this is something related to OLVM. At the same time, in the last year, for the KVM server, so the compute side of the solution, we introduced the support for Unbreakable Enterprise Kernel 6. That is the latest release for UEK. And just for your interest, it's a kernel built on 5.4 upstream Linux kernel. And we also had different updates related to QEMU and libvirt. So everything that is related to the user space stuff for Oracle Linux KVM. The important point to know is that those KVM and libvirt releases are quite updated and very near to the community. Because, for example, on KVM we are today on 4.2 release, on libvirt we are today on 5.7 release. So those are quite updated. Yeah, and obviously for each one of those errata releases, there's a public announcement that is public available, where you can see all the fixes, all the enhancement, or all the possible security fixes we introduced for OLVM for free time.
Okay, we have two more questions at this point. So let's go straight away. Is OLVM supported for Oracle Database Appliances, ODA?
So Oracle Database Appliance, it's an engineering system, and it's another engineering system relying on the same Oracle Linux KVM for the hypervisor, right? But the Oracle Database Appliance as an engineering system has its own management for KVM, so management solution for KVM. So for what I know, the Oracle Database Appliance is relying, I'm sure, 100% sure that is relying on the same KVM, so same kernel, same KVM, same libvirt, but for the management side of the solution, they are relying on something different from OLVM.
Okay, and Rodrigo asking questions, what's the recommendation to protect OLVM once the entire environment is restarted without the OLVM manager, the virtual machines do not go up? So we have some built-in functionalities even on OLVM, so Simon will tell you a little bit more. And of course, because we are on a Store webinar, you have a solution like Store Protect, which enables you the fully disaster recovery from the database metadata backup through the image-based level protection for all of your VMs with the individual file restoration capability. So here, unfortunately, there is, of course, other vendors who are doing it, but we are quite sure that we are we have a really rich functionality here. So definitely feel free to test it, our software. But also the OLVM has snapshotting capability. Simon, correct me, you still implemented it, yes?
Yeah. Snapshot is there, but when I'm used to talk with customers during POC that maybe our pre-sales team do with their customer, is that you're going to run your business, right, on this kind of architecture, on this kind of virtualization solution. So based on the importance of the services running on this architecture, you also have to rely on something that can easily bring your services up as soon as an issue is there, like this one. And so to be honest, there are many different backup solutions. There are also free of charge backup solution for OLVM as well as overt, right? But when a problem happens, having the opportunity to get an enterprise support coming from a vendor like Storeware can really do the difference for your services, right? And so when you think, for example, if you compare to backup solutions, you can say, yeah, but maybe this one that is available for free and this one that is maybe covered by license are going to give the same solution, right? The same backup solution at the end, just to backup it, just to restore, and even disaster recovery, whatever. But what really can do the difference is the support coming from a vendor that is used to approach these kind of issues daily, right? So when the problem happens to you, having the opportunity to get in touch with people that is used to work on the same issue daily will do the difference for your environment, or will get your environment maybe up and running in minutes or hours instead of days. And that kind of thing can really do the difference, right?
Okay, let's move forward, please.
Yeah. So moving ahead, one of the topics where we introduced the support for OLVM is related to the disaster recovery. So today we support both the active-active as well as the active-passive disaster recovery solutions for OLVM. All the steps required to set up this kind of architecture are available on the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager documentation. Just a quick mention, the active solution is really a stretch cluster configuration, where at the end you have some KVM servers and available on one data center and others KVM server available on the second data center. All of them are part of the same data center, the same cluster, and the same KVM cluster. And so again, this is the stretch cluster configuration. The requirement is to have a storage solution able to be synchronous replicated between the two data centers. And the other option is obviously the active-passive disaster recovery solution, where at the end you have a storage replication that is in a synchronous storage replication between the two data centers. And over there, you have the opportunity to possibly restart everything on the second data center in case of issues on the first one. So we have here a picture, an example related to the active-active disaster recovery solution, where at the end, as you can see, we have two different data centers, but all the KVM servers are part of the same cluster and the same data center, and all of them are managed by one unique Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, where we obviously suggest to get OLVM deployed as a self-hosted engine, so as a VM running on top of your KVM cluster. The other one is the active-passive disaster recovery solution, where at the end you have two separated KVM cluster, two separated Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager engines, and you have obviously an asynchronous storage replication in place between the two data centers. Now, this one is the maybe one of the most interesting topics for today. It's also something that our customers are looking for, and it's related to the Oracle Database templates for Oracle Linux KVM. It's coming soon. Later today, I'm also going to have a meeting with our engineering team that is working on this. We are quite ready to announce the first Oracle Database templates for Oracle Linux KVM. Those templates will be based on Oracle Database 19c, and we will give to our customers two different options. So Oracle Database 19c with Oracle Linux 7, update 9, and Oracle Database 19c with Oracle Linux 8, update 4. The important thing to know is that we are also going to announce an updated deploy cluster tool that will be the release 4. And this deploy cluster tool will give you the opportunity to automate the deployment of your Oracle database that can be a single instance as well as an Oracle reapplication cluster on top of Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. So we have a deploy cluster tool able to leverage the OLVM API, and by those OLVM API, the same will create the VMs from the template, will automate the virtual machine deployment, will automate the Oracle database software installation and configuration, and we will also automate the Oracle database creation and configuration. So while deploying your Oracle database service, you will have the opportunity to customize all of those options related to the Oracle database software, if it's going to be a single instance or an Oracle reapplication cluster, which database has to be created, the configuration also for your database. And the important point is also that with the new Oracle database templates for Oracle Linux KVM, the deploy cluster tool, we are also going to release a new technical paper really focused on the best practices for Oracle database while running on Oracle Linux KVM. It's something that is really coming soon. I do not want to promise on a date, but yeah, let's say very, 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 very soon.
Before the Euro finals?
Yeah, should be before the finals. Should be
okay, so it's really soon.
Yeah, should be before the European League final. Yeah, absolutely, yes. Okay. It's something that our customers are looking for, right? Because as I said to you before, most of our customers start to leverage the solution for Oracle products, and maybe the most important one is really the Oracle database. And the cool point of this solution is that I've talked last week with people in my team. They said me that at the end we are able to for example to get an Oracle application cluster deployed in around 20 minutes, right? So you can get 2-3 different database nodes deployed in around 20 minutes
Beauty.
with everything
This
that
is a really
you
good news.
require. Yeah. Yeah, that said, this is not only what we are going to see soon. Later this year, we are also going to announce updated templates for Oracle Database. So we are going to focus on the updated release for the Oracle Database. So the Oracle Database 21C release. And over there, obviously, we are going to rely only on Oracle Linux 8 Update 4, just because we are seeing, both from the community point of view as well as from our enterprise customers, that now it's really the time to deploy new services or new solutions on Oracle Linux 8, so on the enterprise Linux 8 release. So the updated template will be there for Oracle Linux 8. Yeah, so this is quite good. And as a reminder related to the templates, if you go to the website yam.oracle.com, over there you can download, for example, the Oracle Linux ISO for sure. So the important thing to know is that we do not request, we do not want to see any kind of subscription, right? If you connect to yam.oracle.com, over there you can download the Oracle Linux ISO, you can download the Oracle Linux KVM templates. So just the pure operating system templates are available there, as well as many other options for Oracle Linux, like vagrant images and more. And then, yeah, that said, soon we are going also to see those Oracle database templates, right? Moving ahead, another thing we continue to work is related to the Microsoft Windows guest support on Oracle Linux KVM. We announced the updated release for Oracle Virtual drivers. 117 is the latest release today available. And over there, we addressed the so first of all, some improvements related to the performance for network and block. So for network and disk devices while running Microsoft Windows on top of Oracle Linux KVM. And we also introduced a new driver for Microsoft Windows while running on KVM. So it's the PVPanic driver that is quite important for us for example, to debug possible issues while running Microsoft Windows on top of Oracle Linux KVM. And here you can see the list of Microsoft Windows releases that we today support on Oracle Linux KVM. As you can see, we have all the latest. And yeah, and so this one is another topic where we are pushing so much, just because, yeah, now our customers are also running Microsoft Windows quite often on Oracle Linux KVM. Next slide. Other updates, other things that we worked on. So related to the storage, we did the first announcement of Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. We announced a storage LAN capacity that was around 300 LANs, if I correctly remember. Our quality engineering team worked and addressed this kind of requirement that was coming from our customers. So we increased this kind of limit to 2,000 LANs, right? So now you can have an OLVM infrastructure running many VMs, hundreds of VMs, and relying on 2,000 LANs. We introduced the support for Solaris 11.4, just because the Solaris team worked to get the Virtual drivers, both for the networking as well as for the storage on Solaris for x86, right? An important thing to know is that we also worked on the OLVM web interface. So now with the latest update or the latest errata release for OLVM 4.3.10, between the operating system list, you can also find Solaris 11.4 there. And this kind of option is there to to run Solaris x86. This one is another requirement that we addressed, just because we have customers that also have the requirement to run Solaris x86 on their environments, on their architecture. That said, we are continuously working with the possible backport coming from the 4.4 community release into OLVM 4.3.10, as well as for everything related to the KVM and UEK. So as I said to you before, UEK 6 today is based on 5.4 upstream Linux kernel, but the important thing to know is that we also do different backports from 5.8, 5.9, or at least from updatedly upstream Linux kernel into UEK 6. Yeah, I think that those are all the major topics related to what's new. I'm going to anticipate a possible question that could be related.
We have a few of those, so no worries. It will be quite tough because it's regarding the future. So the first question is, what will happen after 2026? Because teams see that RHV already has a plan to, end of life the RHV based on OVIRT. So what will happen with the OLVM? I know it's a tough question because it's 5 years plus question.
Yeah, this is what I can share. So first of all, the important thing to know is that we already started to work on what would be OLVM 4.4 release, right? So we are not going to skip or to move away from the OVIRT open source project for the next OLVM 4.4 release. Related to the answer on what will happen in 2026, yeah, as you said, it's 5 years from today. The important thing to know is that we are not going to force our customers to leverage a complex solution while maybe they are just looking to just manage VMs, right? So what I can say is that our customers will continue to have an enterprise management solution for KVM that is not going to add any kind of complexity, that is not going to create any kind of issue for them to continue to manage their VMs as they are doing today, right? So we think that one management solution or one enterprise management solution has to be something able to do one thing at the best. And our intention is to bring this kind of opportunity to our customers.
Okay.
Right. So saying what we will do in 2026, I do not have the answer. But the important thing to know is this one, right? We are not going to, for sure, we are not going to leave our customers alone or on their own, right? That said, the important thing to know is that it's our intention, and obviously this is something that we will do to grant to our customers the best option possible without introducing complexity, without introducing hidden costs. Also because, as a reminder, OLVM can be downloaded and updated for free today, right? So we have the support if you want, right? The support is optional, right? And it's something that is valid for Oracle Linux as well as all the components around the Oracle Linux ecosystem. You can download Oracle Linux for free, you can update it for free, you can redistribute Oracle Linux for free. And the same kind of thing is not going to change. And in 2026, we will continue in the same way, right? But as already said, we will keep it easy, let's say in this way.
Another question regarding the update. So the question regarding, okay, what does it mean by update? Can we use the Oracle Linux 8 on the host these days, or only 7?
Today we just support 7 for the KVM host. The important thing to know is that last week we just introduced the updated KVM utils for Oracle Linux 8. So On the compute side, we now have our own releases for KVM and libvirt, also on Oracle Linux 8. We introduced those as an application stream module for Oracle Linux 8. Related to the management side, OLVM 4.4 is on our roadmap. Obviously, we already started to work on it. I do not have a date that I can share today. But that said, even while moving from Oracle Linux 7 to Oracle Linux 8, we are going to bring the best experience possible to our customers. Just because the updated OLVM 4.4 will bring the opportunity to run or to manage Oracle Linux 7 KVM host with BDSM 4.3 release. And at the same time, we are also working to support the upgrade from Oracle Linux 7 KVM and Oracle Linux 8 KVM. Right.
Next question is regarding the increased numbers of Linux. You said about 2,000, which is great. But what about the storage domains, numbers and the quantities that we can? Is it also increased, and how many of them we can use in OLVM? This is one of the questions.
We increased, if I correctly remember, it's there on the OLVM documentation, and you can easily check because it's public available. For what I remember, we increased the number of LANs, and as well as the number of LANs that you can leverage for storage domains, because you can have more than one LAN working into one unique storage domain, just because over there we have volume groups and logical volumes. If I correctly remember, the number of storage domain is still the same. That should be maybe 512 if I correctly remember.
Okay, thank you for that. And another one, questions regarding the feature and regarding also the distribution from Orbit based on the Red Hat Virtualization Manager, because they move in more and more workloads and development into the OpenShift virtualization. What's the answer from the Oracle side? Of course, if you can share with us these insights.
Yeah, the answer is that I can give the answer that we are now going to introduce OLVM 4.4, right? That one is the first step. That said, we are working with other teams as well as other Linux vendors, because at the end on an open source project and many open source projects, there are more Linux vendors working and investing on it. To bring the best solution possible that will continue to keep the life easy to our customers. That said, I cannot comment on what we will do in 2026. I cannot share maybe possible faults that maybe won't be there on 2026. So what I can say is that the plan is there, and we are going to give the best experience possible to our customers. We want to keep something that I always say is we want to keep it easy, right? We do not want complexity. We want to maintain the same service level with the same features, the same capabilities there, without forcing any customer to move away from a solution we are going to supply.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just put on a chat that because there are many questions, but if it was a question, will be the slides available later on. I said that you can subscribe on our Store YouTube, because all of the webinars are available there. So I also put the link on the chat. So please do not miss the chance to subscribe us, not only for today's webinars, but for all of the future webinars. So you definitely won't miss it. And I will ask you, Simon, to share with the presentation later on. So maybe I will share with the community. If of course, if I can.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, team. So I think we already hit the time. Let me double check if we have questions. We have a last questions from Kiran. Is Kubernetes OKD supported on all VM?
Yeah, today you can run Kubernetes with Oracle Linux on top of Oracle Linux KVM. And for your interest on GitHub, an Oracle team also worked on a solution able to automate the deployment of Oracle Linux Cloud Native environment on top of Oracle Linux KVM managed by Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. It's a very cool solution because at the end, you have a CLI utility able to automate the deployment of OLCNE. And within OLCNE, you also have Kubernetes, obviously, on top of Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager and KVM. Yep. Before closing, Pavel, I also want to share one thing that is this one.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that I would like to share. There are more documents available, and most of them are also related to topics that I just maybe mentioned during this webinar. Maybe two of the most interesting one. Why KVM, for example, we think that there's an external company that think that KVM is winning over VMware vSphere lately, and also the possible migration steps to migrate. So we worked on those again based on our customer request, and those are public available. So if you just Google for those entries, you will find them. And by the way, the slide deck will be shared, so you can get access to those.
Beauty. So I think like I said, we hit the time. So I would like to, in person, thank you for all of the attendees. We reach 50 people, so this is a great numbers. So there are many people who would like to hear about what's new, what's the plans. And definitely, Simon, I would like to, in person, thank you for spending the time and again with us, not only in a Storeware webinars, but also on our open virtualization pro portal, where we also share the knowledge with our community that we are building. Once more, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us directly via different social media channels such as LinkedIn. I also put the YouTube links. Simon is also quite active on the Oracle blog or other social media, so do not hesitate to contact if you will have any more questions regarding the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. And keep in mind that if you look for the proper data protection, the backup and recovery solution, we are here to help all of the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager implementation to cope with this challenge using our platform called StoreView Protect. So that's all for today. Simon, again, I keep fingers crossed for the Friday match with Belgium. I would like to see Italy in the finals. And what else? Stay in touch.
Yeah, sure.
And again, thank you, because I know that you have a quite busy and your calendar is pretty booked.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Pavel. And then for everyone interested on the templates for KVM, keep an eye on the Oracle Linux blog that is there on blogs.oracle.com/Linux. It's coming soon again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you
Stay
so much.
safe and
You
have
too.
a great day for all of you.
You too, Pavel. Thank you again. Bye to everyone.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.